The first round of the NFL draft is one of the biggest days in all of football, as many NFL fans are holding out hope for their team to finally flip the switch or continue to be great and win Super Bowls. But as we know, most teams aren't very good at drafting, or most draft picks don't always pan out for their teams. So today we're going to be grading every team's first round picks in the 2025 NFL draft.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
With the number one overall pick, it was no shocker that the Tennessee Titans drafted Cam Ward, as he was the best quarterback in this class due to him having the most potential and also showing that he was a good quarterback in college. However, many people, myself included, don't believe that Cam Ward was the best player in this draft, and I personally believe that a lot of his qualities don't translate very well to the next level. So I do not believe that Cam Ward should have been the first pick in this draft. Therefore, I grade this a C pick. You're a team that needs a quarterback, therefore you reached on one to take him because you felt like you needed to do that to secure your job for the future. Now, if it pays off, they'll look like geniuses. But if it doesn't, you look stupid because you missed out on players like Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton, Jeanty, generational type players in this draft class, all because you forced to pick at quarterback because it's the most important position on your team.
The Cleveland Browns have traded the second pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with the second pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Hunter, wide receiver, defensive back from Colorado.
Now, we have our first trade of the 2025 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars jumped up from 5 to trade with the Cleveland Browns at number 2 to get Travis Hunter. So first, I'm going to grade this trade. I believe it was an A+ trade for both sides. The Jacksonville Jaguars got some needed help on both sides of the ball, getting Travis Hunter, who is the best player in this draft class. And the Cleveland Browns were able to move back, get a few draft picks for the future, and get one of the best defensive tackle prospects we've ever seen in Mason Graham to pair up with Myles Garrett. This is going to be one of the scariest D-lines in the NFL because of that. Now, let's grade the actual pick of Travis Hunter. Like I said, the trade was an A+ because Travis Hunter is an A+ player. It never really makes sense to take a wide receiver or a corner with the top 2 picks in the draft, but you're getting a player who can play both. I'm under the assumption that Travis Hunter is able to play both sides of the ball in the NFL, just like he did in college, and therefore I believe this was actually a great pick by them, and I love it for Jacksonville Jaguars fans. It gives them some hope. It'll boost ticket sales. It'll do everything that a GM wants in a pick, so I love it. He loves being there. It's a great pick.
The New York Giants select Abdul Carter, defensive end, Penn State.
Next up, you had the New York Giants taking the second best player in the NFL draft in Abdul Carter at a very important position. Now, I grade this a A. And the reason I graded an A and not an A+ is because I believe Abdul Carter is going to be great in the NFL. Therefore, I gave him an A. They're getting back to old school New York Giants football where they have multiple pass rushers where the opposing team's offense is never really getting a break from getting screamed at. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and now you add Abdul Carter, who might be the best edge rusher out of that whole group, which is saying a lot because Dexter Lawrence is the best D-tackle in the NFL right now, and Brian Burns is consistently a top 15 pass rusher in the league. So what this means is you bolstered your defense. You're probably going to have a top 3 defense in the NFL next year. So if your offense can just be competent, you're probably going to be able to make the playoffs, which is a stretch because it's the Giants. But I believe Russell Wilson coming in is going to help this team make the playoffs. He's a proven winner. He hasn't had as much success recently because of the Broncos and the Steelers. But we saw when the Steelers' defense was playing good, they were winning every single game. It's when the defense fell off down the stretch last year that the offense also fell off. Therefore, I believe the Giants are going to be able to make the playoffs because of Abdul Carter and because of Russell Wilson. But the reason it was an A and not an A+ is because I believe you could have traded down to 6 with the Raiders potentially and gotten Ashton Jeanty. And why do I think Ashton Jeanty would have been a better pick for them? It's because you don't really have a running back. You have Tyrone Tracy, who you got last season, who's a bottom-tier running back in the NFL and who also has fumbling issues. I think Ashton Jeanty would have made a more significant impact on your team than Abdul Carter would have, but Abdul Carter is going to be a star in the NFL for years to come.
With the 4th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, tackle, LSU.
Now, we have the New England Patriots drafting offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. One of the best players in this draft, the consensus #1 O-lineman going into the combine. It was 50-50 whether he was still better than Armand Membou afterwards, just because of what Armand Membou was able to do at that combine, grading out as one of the most athletic linemen we've ever seen in NFL history. But the reason Will Campbell was a great pick here, and the reason I give this a B+ grade for them, is because they're restoring that O-line. You've got a young quarterback in Drake May. You have to protect him to keep him healthy and ultimately give him the best chance to succeed. The reason I give this a B+ is because Will Campbell has short arm. Now, he's athletic enough where he should still be okay at the NFL level, but I just believe if he had slightly longer arms, he would have been a home run A+ pick. But because of those arms being shorter, we know that there's a chance he may have to move inside to guard. Now, I personally believe he's going to be okay in the NFL playing tackle, and that's why I give this a B+. I would have liked you to get some skill position help too, but we know games are won and lost in the NFL on the trenches. Therefore, I think it's a great pick to build up your trenches and get back to that Mike Vrabel smash mouth football that we saw in Tennessee when he had Derrick Henry.
With the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan.
Now we see Mason Graham being drafted by the Cleveland Browns, as I mentioned earlier, part of that Jacksonville trade, and I think this is a A- pick. The reason I say A- is because I think Mason Graham is a home run pick, one of the best D tackles I've ever graded coming out of college. Reminds me a lot of Aaron Donald just in his ability to disrupt things. He's a great player. I think he's a home run pick. And I think pairing him up with Myles Garrett is going to take care of offenses for years to come there in Cleveland. Now, the reason I give it an A- is I just believe Travis Hunter was the type of player you don't want to trade out of a pick for. But I think they're looking long term. They don't expect to win this year, but maybe in a few years. Therefore, I think it's still a great pick, and that's why I give it an A-.
With the 6th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton, Jeanty, running back, Boise State.
Next up, we have one of the hottest running backs in college football history, Ashton Jeanty. Now, I think this pick of Ashton Jeanty was an A+. I think Ashton Jeanty is one of the best running back prospects that has ever came out of college football. The only other guy who's really comparable is Saquon Barkley, just because of how great he was at Penn State. And we see that didn't really translate in the NFL with the Giants because of injuries and bad O-line play. But now that he's with the Eagles, looks like one of the best players in NFL history at the running back position. We kind of saw the running back position be revitalized last season with Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry both leading the way along with Josh Jacobs with the Packers. And that's why I think this is such a great pick. The reason I have it as an A+ is because Las Vegas Raiders could not run the ball last season. You brought in Geno Smith and Pete Carroll, both of which are only able to succeed if they have a good running game. So I love them getting a running back. Your O-line is above average, and getting Jeanty behind it, I could see him having an 1,800-yard season and transforming how you look, but it's still going to be hard to compete in that division because you've got the Broncos who just went to the playoffs, you have the Chiefs still who just went to the Super Bowl, and you have the Chargers who also just went to the playoffs. So it's going to be difficult for them, but they're definitely going to improve from last season.
With the 7th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Armand Membou, Missouri.
Now, this is the pick for me that made sense, but wasn't an incredible pick. I think Armand Membou is going to be a lock at that position, borderline all-pro for years to come because of his athletic ability and his tape was still really, really good. However, you took a tackle last season. You just got Justin Fields, brought him in and signed him. I think you needed to get him skill position help to really give him the best shot at succeeding in New York. You've been looking at a quarterback for years. You're hoping probably you either suck next season and get a really, really good quarterback, or you're good. And I think the only way you get to see that is if you get him Tyler Warren Tet Mcmillan, a guy like that who's going to be super good at getting open, creating space, ensuring that you are as successful as possible on offense. And while a tackle is going to help you with that, I don't think a tackle is going to be as beneficial to Justin Fields as maybe another position. And that's why I give this a B, because I think he's a great pick for any team, but I believe you were a team that could have benefited from getting a little more skill position help outside of Garrett Wilson, because that's really all you have now on that offense unless Breece Hall comes back to form this year.
With the 8th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
Now, we have Tet McMillan, one of the better receivers in college football last season, the best receiver in this draft, according to me and multiple other people. However, this was a pick that surprised a lot of the experts in the NFL world. They thought they were going to go Jalen Walker or someone like this, but if you actually check out my mock draft, which I'll pop up right there, I actually had them taking Tet McMillan with this pick. And my reasoning for that is you saw Bryce Young just continue to improve and improve last season. And the only way you're really ever going to see is Bryce Young going to work out in the NFL and be our franchise quarterback for years to come is if you get him a weapon. Now, the options were Tyler Warren, Tet McMillan, and you have Tommy Tremble, who's a decent tight end, so I don't think it was a necessity to get a tight end here. But you have limited wide receivers at best ever since you traded away DJ Moore to get Bryce Young. Therefore, Tet McMillan's a big body receiver who has a large catch radius, doesn't drop anything. He's not going to get the most separation in the world, but that's not his job. He's going to get enough separation, and he's going to win those contested catches, which is why I have this being a B-plus pick. I don't think he's as good as maybe a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, but I think he's a true X receiver who's going to help you evaluate Bryce Young, and that is ultimately what you want to do here. So I love the pick. I expected it, had it in almost all of my mock drafts where the experts didn't. So props to me on that one.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle, Texas.
Now we have a pick that didn't really make sense to me in the moment. As a New Orleans Saints, you could have definitely used help on the O-line. I will give you that. That's why this is a good pick. However, I watched your offense down the stretch last year after you lost to Alvin Kamara, and you were non-existent on the offensive side of the football. So you drafted O-lineman, great, but who do you have at skill positions who are going to make those big plays that you need? You let Taysom Hill go. Alvin Kamara is coming back from injury, but outside of that, you have nobody. Chris Olave can't stay healthy. He's a great receiver when he is healthy, but it seems like he's just getting concussion after concussion each and every year. And I would have rather you just traded down in the 20s, maybe get 2 first-round picks for it, and get 2 guys who can play skill positions for you, right? Get a receiver in the 30s and in the 20s. But you take 1 offensive tackle at 9, and I think your offense is still going to be bad next season. You didn't really answer the quarterback spot. You got Tyler Shuck, who I'm not as high on as a lot of people. I don't think a 26-year-old quarterback was the best pick to make at number 40. I know you didn't love Shedeur Sanders, but you were better off getting him in the 5th round than you were taking Tyler Shuck with your 40th overall pick. I don't really understand the Saints, in all honesty. I don't think they're going to be very good next season, and I would look for them to be in the conversation to draft Arch Manning next season. So, overall, how do I grade this pick? C. I think he's a good player. I don't think there were a ton of offensive linemen in this draft class outside of the first round, so I understand it. But this, combined with Tyler Shuck at 40, I just think you were one of the few losers in the NFL draft. And that sucks to say for a lot of Saints fans out there. And let me know down below how you feel about that.
So with the 10th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan.
Now this pick, I was baffled. My jaw dropped when I first saw it, but as I've started to evaluate it more, it makes a little bit of sense, but not a ton. We know that they hired Ben Johnson from the Lions this offseason. He had a really good tight end there in Detroit, who Colston Loveland plays very similar to. Sam Laporta and Colston Loveland have very, very similar games. We see that Laporta was very effective in Ben Johnson's offense. He helped it work the way that it worked. But the reason this pick didn't make a ton of sense for me is your pass rush last season was awful. You could not get any sacks, any pressure on the quarterback, and it really caused you to struggle down the stretch. You have skill position players on offense, right? You bulked up on the offensive line this offseason. You have Cole Kmet at tight end, who's arguably a top 15 tight end, who Caleb Williams just did not do a good job of getting the ball to last season. You have Romadunze, who you took last season. You have DJ Moore, but you needed help on the defensive side of the ball. The best way to have better offense is to have good defense that continually gets you short fields, and I think that's what Mykel Williams, Jalen Walker could have did for you here, but instead you go with Colston Loveland. Probably going to see a lot of 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver sets with them. They still don't really have an incredible running back, and I just don't really know what you were doing here. I would love for you to trade down and take Amari and Hampton if you were going to take an offensive skill position player, but I don't get it. And I hope a lot of Chicago fans out there explain it to me or either feel the same way as me, because it just didn't make a ton of sense to me. So overall, I have this graded as a C pick. That is no knock on the player they took. Colston Loveland is a really good tight end, and I think he's going to be successful in the NFL. I just don't love it for the team that he landed at, especially not going ahead of Tyler Warren, who I had as a better tight end coming out of college. Different game styles, matches Ben Johnson's offense more, but I would just preferably have seen them go with the edge rusher here at number 10.